of you know, we are in our Joy of Generosity season. How many of you got the joy of the Lord? And you're happy about it. Well, during this time, we like to share testimonies with you. We shared a beautiful one last week, and today we want to share another one. This is from Kim, Richey, and Katrina Nagore. I never say her name right. Close enough. But you two ladies stand up. These are like best pals here, almost like a mother-daughter duo. They've been serving here in the church for many years. And so I want to read their testimony. Throughout the last several years that Katrina and I have attended Heart of the Bay, Philippians 4:13 has been emphasized that with God we can do all things because He strengthens us. We are taught the importance of obedience in action to God's callings and promptings. And we were taught that God will put us in the right place at the right time with the right people doing the right thing. How many of you have heard Pastor Mark say that repeatedly as we allow him to? We were given an opportunity to experience this firsthand on December 6th, 2021. God not only placed us in the right place at the right time, but He also equipped us to be His heart and His hands in an emergency situation. A morning appointment and plans to run 2 errands following that appointment was our agenda, but it was not God's. We ended up leaving the house early enough to take care of both errands before the appointment, which meant we were driving home on our usual route instead of an alternate one. As we approached a red light at the intersection of Whipple Road and Mission Boulevard, we came upon a horrible accident. Katrina parked the car and told me to call 911 as she ran to help. A motorcycle had been hit by a car, and the driver's leg had been amputated at the knee. He was screaming for help and bleeding out. People were standing around, including someone recording on their phone, but no one was helping him. So Katrina grabbed a sweatshirt from one of the bystanders and used it as a tourniquet. When I got to them, I learned that the man's name was Ezra. I held his hand and kept him talking to keep him from going into shock. By the time the police and the EMTs arrived, we were both covered in Ezra's blood. It was hard to believe he would survive. We watched as they loaded him into the ambulance and headed to Eden Hospital. All we knew at this point was his first name. The intersection of Whipple Road and Mission Boulevard is one we cross on a weekly basis, and every time we approach it, the images of that day were playing again in our minds. We continually prayed for Ezra, putting him in God's hands and praying that he would survive. We asked some of our church family and staff to also join us in praying for Ezra. Fast forward 2 weeks to December 25th, 2021. Katrina was on the neighborhood app and saw someone had posted about the accident. One person who knew Ezra personally commented on the post. He also said Ezra had survived, but that he was struggling tremendously with all the major life changes he was experiencing. It truly felt like a Christmas miracle to find out that he had lived. Peace and joy flooded our hearts and trickled down from our eyes, knowing Ezra was alive. Our prayers for Ezra's survival had been answered. Fast forward again, 10 months ago to October 19th, 2022. Katrina was prompted to reach out again to that person that said he personally knew Ezra. She asked how he was managing and shared that we continued to pray for him. The response she received was that Ezra has very little memory of that day, but he received his prosthetic and wheelchair and was learning to embrace his new life and all the changes and challenges that come with it. He had struggled initially, but his attitude and outlook had improved. He was beyond grateful that we had stopped and helped him that day. We didn't know and still don't know Ezra, but we knew nothing about him. So the concept of even finding out he had survived didn't seem possible. The way God placed us where he needed to be a help to Ezra, then equipped us with boldness, grace, and faith to take action and gave us 2 updates on Ezra's recovery has been such a gift to us.
Amen.
We were truly blessed to be a blessing in this situation and are grateful for the wisdom and spiritual growth we receive from the ministry here at Heart of the Bay.